It's Jai452 here again inside the closet of cosplay. Will we ever get out? Probably not. My special guest this week is the one, the only,
I am that guy.
that guy cosplay. So, hello, that guy cosplay. How are you today?
I'm alright, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. So, we're going to jump right in there because we've got lots of questions to get through. And I'm going to ask you, when did you first start cosplaying?
3 years ago, maybe now?
Wow. Do you remember what your first cosplay was?
Deadpool? Deadpool? I had it as a Halloween costume, and then at the event, my mate was just like, oh, you should wear it to the event, so I did.
Um, was there any costumes before that?
Not not cosplay as such. There was in the occasional Halloween costume as a kid, and Darth Maul, Obi-Wan Kenobi, the kind of generic kid cosplayers. Well,
Awesome.
costumes.
Um, who or what inspired you to cosplay?
The people, I think, really. The people. Like, first event, met loads of new friends. All these people were dressed in this way I'd never seen before, and it was just like, so why are you guys all dressed up like, well, we're cosplayers? And the story from there just begins, really.
So, now you mentioned a few people there. Anyone in particular that we might know?
um, Alphabetti Cosplay, he was at my first convention, but we never actually officially met until, I think, the following convention. So Alphabetti's helped me a lot with some of my foam. Like, I'm not the most creative person, so I've always asked people for help. There's also, what's his name? The South Shields Mandalorian. He was the person I first went to the cons with because I've been friends with him before conventions, and then we just welcomed into this world really, and both were started at the same time.
Awesome. Um, the next one is a bit of a difficult one. I'm going to ask you.
Right?
What has been the most challenging cosplay that you've ever done to date, both from the making of it
Yeah.
and from the acting side? Because there is a bit of acting in cosplay, whether it's how you talk or how you move or even just how you will interact with people. So let's talk about the acting side first. What's been the most challenging cosplay for you to date from that point of view?
Probably my second one,
Hmm.
Gage, which is the Necromancer from Borderlands 2. I did a male version, and I actually have a prop here. It is very old, as you can tell. It is 2 years old now. But it's all craft foam onto a spandex suit. Now, this was very difficult because I was inexperienced at the time. So when I had the arm on to glue them, I just straight up super glued, like hot glued them to my arm. It then slightly burned my arm. So that was kind of difficult. But then the acting side, since she is a game character and doesn't really, you only ever see her in the pause menu, you can't really, there's no sort of pose, if you will. There's no generic Necromancer pose that you can do for photos. Whereas, say, with my other cosplay with Markiplier, there's the sort of the smolder look, the tiny Tim on my shoulder. People love that, but with Gage, there's just no go-to pose. So you just have to kind of wing it, really.
Um, so again, the same question, except this time, which one to date has been the most challenging from the making of the costume?
Probably a one that I only did once because I didn't like how it turned out. I did, from the film Rise of the Guardians, I did Pitch Black, the villain.
Hmm.
So it was this long, I am 6'5", so this long 6'5" robe that then trailed. Finding the time to make it was hard, but then I eventually bit the bullet and was just like, asked my grandma. I was like, Grandma, need help sewing? And then we did it in like 3 days, but it took a lot because neither of us had ever done arms, done anything like that. Like, occasionally, sew a button on a shirt, but never make an entire robe. So that was definitely the hardest one.
Okay. Um, the next question is kind of similar to the last one, except we'll do this applying to yourself and then applying generally.
Yep.
In your opinion, what is the most difficult thing or character to cosplay as? And let's apply it to yourself first. So, in your opinion, what is one cosplay that you would just look at and go, "Oh, I'm never going to do that because it's just too hard."
I don't know. Most of them, most of them really that I like, but I've always wanted to do the claptrap cosplay, but I've always looked at it and thought that's impossible. I don't have the skill level to make something that on a large scale that big. Then wearing it would just be, if you've only got the eye, like the eyepiece to look through, just looking through that all day would be hard enough as it is. So I think claptrap really for me would be the hardest to do.
And now in general, like, what is one like cosplay or cosplay type that you would advise people just like, unless you have the skill set, do not even attempt this kind of thing?
Anything involving electronics, really, like I haven't heard any massive stories of people building something and then electrocuting themselves, but you hear the occasional story of I've burnt myself with this. I touched the hot glue gun when it was still hot. Like they say, practice makes perfect, but you need to sort of learn the tools before you use them. So anything electronic based, don't go messing with if you don't have any knowledge of electronics, really.
Hmm. One of the things I would say on that front, and this is purely because I don't have the skill set, the armored looks.
Yeah.
Like when you see the big, it's not even like full suits of armor that you would see in museums or anything. It's like those what's it called? Halo outfits that you see.
The Spartan armor ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like anybody who can make them, like more power to you. There's actually two people that both myself and yourself know in common that can probably make them.
Probably, yeah.
One of them you've just mentioned, Alphabeti, like I could totally see him making one of them. But
Yeah,
when I
definitely.
see them, I just think I'm always so enamored by them. I'm like, oh wow, like cool. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, there's no way that I could ever make anything like that. Couldn't
Yeah.
even dream about it.
Uh,
Um, so I would advise people, unless you have the skill set or know people who do, don't even attempt to try something like that.
Power tools as well. Stay away from power tools. I've learnt my lesson with power tools.
Definitely. Um, so when you're doing or when you're going to a cosplay event, well, actually, let's scrap that just now. Um, there are multiple types of different cosplay events that we can go to here in the UK because you're also in the UK.
Yep.
And they fall into what I like to think of as two categories. You've got your big once a year events, which is your MCMs, your film and Comic Cons and whatnot. And then there's your smaller, more local ones, which happen every, maybe 4 or 5 months or something.
Yeah.
Um, which out of those two do you prefer going to? Do you prefer going to the big once a year ones or the little local ones, or do you like a blend of the two?
I like a blend of the two. I love the awe you get. Like when I went to MCM this year, just the sheer size of it took me back. Like I was amazed that there was just so much of us, so many people there who were just all so friendly. It's like that is the key. Like the friendliness is amazing. But then the smaller local ones, it's where it's just basically. I was just at one last weekend at Teesside, and it was just me and like about 400 people, 300 of which I probably knew. Like I didn't walk past a person not saying hi to them.
Hmm.
So I feel like you have to have the big cons to sort of to enjoy that time away. Like if you stay overnight away from home, it's that sort of time away from home with your friends. Whereas the ones at home, it's nice. Meet up all your friends for the day, have fun, but then come home and just chill really after you take off your cosplay.
Um, do you feel Do you get this kind of like similar feeling as I do? Like when you go to the big Comic Cons, the once a year ones, and this is nothing against them because each con has their own strengths and weaknesses. But I always feel when you go to the big ones, it's you don't get the same amount of time with people as you would at a smaller one. Um,
Yeah.
at a big
That's-
Comic Con, you get what I like to refer to as a New York minute with them. Like
yeah.
you get enough time to say hello, I love your costume, and then somebody takes them away or they take you away, and you can only marginally kind of turn around and say bye.
Yeah, there is that.
Whereas
I
at a
do.
smaller one, you get more of that time. Like I know for a fact that at a smaller con I could sit and have a long conversation with somebody. I've done it. Whereas at a big con, I've only had really good story for you here. I was talking to one of my friends at a Comic Con recently, and she was judging and also paneling, and I got all of 2 seconds with her before I was taken away to get photographs taken, and I was like, wow, that's 2 seconds of hello, hello. I see you're somewhat nervous. So am I, but I'm also cold. You're not. You're wearing a big leather jacket. You bitch. You know, give me your leather jacket, I'm cold. Um, and that person knows who she is. There you go. You know who you are, person. Give me your leather jacket. Um, but yeah, you really don't get an awful lot of time to register with people, and I feel that's something that I predominantly miss when I'm doing larger cons. It's like I like the interaction with people. That's not to say that it can't happen at a big con, but mm, um,
Tends not to happen as much at big cons.
no, and it's so strange as well because so many things can happen at a big con. It's
Yeah.
like, wow,
It's best to go, like, if you go to a big con with a group of people, you
definitely.
always have them few people that will always stick together, that you just regroup with them people.
Mm. Um, I've always went with family members to big cons, and I still meet up with my friends there, and I'm like, "Hi, how are you? You're alive. It's good to know. I love your costume." And mine's is somewhat cold, but um,
Yeah.
I can live with it. So my next question for you is, when you do go to any kind of Comic Con event, or even just any kind of cosplay event in general, what is the one thing that you're most excited for? And also, what is the one thing that either you used to or still kind of do find a little bit nerve-wracking? So let's talk about the nerve-wracking side first. So what is one thing you
Probably
find?
nerve wracking is just when I do my Markiplier cosplay, I just get fans, what I would term fangirls of Markiplier, screaming at me for pictures. And although it's been happening like a year and a bit now, I'm still taken aback. Like, it's still nerve wracking when someone quotes your character at you and you have to then finish the quote off. It's always nerve wracking that you will then mess up and have to just like take the cosplay off and just burn it in shame.
I'm sorry, I didn't know your quote.
uh, so that for me, nerve wracking is misquoting my character. Be the worst thing I could ever do. Like, because that acting side is mainly the sort of thing I love.
Awesome. So, what is one thing that you're always most excited for when you do these events?
Seeing my friends, really. Like, as someone who works through the week and can't see their friends all the time, the
Mhm.
conventions is when like we're mostly there, so it's amazing. Like, just seeing everyone hanging out for a day, really.
I really shouldn't have popped that piece of candy in my mouth there. But,
I saw it really slightly. I was just like, damn, can I have some candy?
um, well, okay. So, just so the people at home know, Jai has been given some Haribo Tantastics, and
Yeah.
hey,
We are not sponsored by Haribo.
No, we're not totally not sponsored by Haribo, by Haribo.
These ones seem, you don't know if you can say, there's sour, super sour, tangy, and hot.
Ah,
What,
well,
what on earth have I been given?
so when you've been doing these events, there is a thing called the Cosplay Masquerade
Yeah.
or cosplay competition, depending on where you are. Have you ever entered into these competitions, and if so, did you ever win anything? And when you got called up, now this is a kind of three-parter, I should say. When you got called up, what was running through your head?
I've entered a few, yes, but never won one. I've never attempted to win one. I just kind of, I don't know. I kind of like being the center of attention, so I love standing on stage. Like, you give me a stage and a microphone, I'm there for the day, basically. But, I mean, the first time I ever did it was with South Shield's Mandalorian. I was dressed as Gage. He was about Mandalorian, so we both sort of hunters was in my title, so we went up as hunters. And I captured Deadpool. And I just remember the first ever time just being given the mic and just freezing up and just being like, I have no idea what to say. But that always sticks with us not knowing what to say. So every time I'm on stage, I think of it, and the words just sort of do come out. I do have a bit of a stage presence.
I remember first time I was cosplaying, and I was doing my male Harley, and when I went up to register, they said to me, "Do you want the mic at any point?" And I was like, no, because Harley, like for me, Harley was an interesting one because I've been practicing the voice,
Yeah,
but I only started practicing it like so many weeks before the con. So I was quickly trying to take in every single Harley voice that I could hear. So I was listening to people like Tara Strong, Arlene Sorkin, and multiple other people who have played Harley.
yeah,
And I'm just like listening to their voices and going, right, so this is what she's doing, this is what she's doing, and this is what she's doing. And then I was like, okay, this is getting a little bit confusing. So I only restricted it to Tara Strong and Arlene Sorkin. And I listened to them for a full week straight. And I was like,
God,
there is no way that I can match that because Arlene Sorkin, the original voice of Harley Quinn, she does it in such a way that it's very hard to mimic unless you are a trained voice actor. You know, it's
yeah,
extremely hard to mimic. So I was doing my best to mimic it, and I was kind of getting there, but I was like, there is no way that I can put that to where it could be a male voice. You know, it's just way too hard. Have you
yeah.
ever come across anything like that when you've been cosplaying? Have you ever done a cosplay that not as not predominantly gender bent, but the voice is just too difficult to master?
Um, probably, probably Gage again because Gage is a female, so it was a gender bend. It was a male version like yours was.
Hmm.
So I listened to the voice a couple of times when I played the game, and I was just like, yeah, I'm never gonna even attempt that. So I tend to stay quiet as Gage because she doesn't have that many lines really.
Okay. Um, do you think it's something that you need to give yourself more time to do when doing something like that?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. Preparation is key. Like the amount of times I've finished a cosplay or put a little extra into a cosplay the day before the convention is always. I feel like anyone you interview will say, "Oh, I finished this the day before a convention."
I have to admit, like, if I see a really amazing cosplay, right, and I go up to somebody and I get talking to them about their cosplay, and they say, "Oh yeah, I just managed to finish this last night." I I just like I start seething underneath my own skin, like you finished that last night. Seriously. Seriously? You look this amazing and you only finished that last night? Have you any idea how long I've been working on my costume? This is just evil. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you are working on multiple costumes and you do just happen to finish the night before and you look amazing, more power to you guys. Just don't come up to me and tell me that you finished last night.
If you're wearing an amazing cosplay, I automatically assume it was finished the night before.
Hmm,
Like, automatically.
yeah, I think I'm gonna have to start doing that. Um, so, in your opinion, what are the best and the worst things that a new cosplayer can do when they're getting ready to go to a Comic Con event or a cosplay event in general?
The worst thing, it's probably the easiest thing, is judging, since it's your first cosplay, like, looking at it and going, oh, this is not screen accurate. Like, nobody, like, it sounds harsh, but nobody cares if it's screen accurate. Like, if it is screen accurate, that's amazing. But you're not going to get screen accuracy on your first cosplay. Like, I feel like more people need to put their own twist on cosplays, kind of thing. Like, they need to stop judging themselves on what they see on the screen, what they see, like, $1 million, £1 million companies build. And I don't know what the best thing they can do is just make sure you eat, really.
Well, I would say the best thing that anybody can do when they're going to a Comic Con, especially if they're going to be in cosplay, make sure you're carrying a bottle of water with you guys. Even if you don't drink it, just make sure you have one with you.
Yeah,
Because for the last 2 years that I've went to filming Comic Con, I've not had a bottle of water with me. And every time I've come home, I've drank at least a liter's worth of water because
yeah,
I felt so dehydrated. In fact, we've had to, like, on the route home, when in the car, I've literally said, right, we need to pull over to a Burger King so I can get something to drink. I don't want nothing to eat, I just want something to drink. Um, but
yeah.
yeah, make sure you have bottles of water with you at some point, which is something I'm going to have to see to at some point. Um, okay, so my next question for you, as I just switch it around, is to do with age groups at Comic Con.
Yeah,
Now, when I first started cosplaying, I had this notion in my head about cosplay. Now, the only cosplay that I had been exposed to were everybody who's doing it over in the States. So you
yeah,
had your family units, your individuals and whatnot. So I said, okay, so you've got family units. So that'd be mums and dads that take their children to this, and that'll be a once-off kind of thing. So your demographic has to be um, young teenagers to maybe early 30s. So that's quite a good like age group. It's a variety of age group. However, when I went to Comic Con, I was so shocked to see that it wasn't just the from early teens to mid 30s. It was everyone.
yeah.
You know, it just blew my mind. Did you have a similar thought in your head when you first started, or did you have a different viewpoint on age groups in cosplay?
I don't know. I kind of went in with a blank, like, I went to my first convention with a blank, this is a blank slate basically, and never heard of cosplay. Like, I'd never heard the word before. I knew people dressed up like fancy dress parties, stuff like that, but I never knew that this was a thing, like cosplay was a thing, so I sort of didn't know what to expect. And then when I saw, as you say, I saw everyone dressed up, and I just thought, it's, it's kind of not what I expected, but I didn't know what I expected,
Mm,
if that makes any sense.
it does, because you really don't know what to expect at your first Comic Con. Um, so in relation to age groups, do you do any cosplays that are geared towards a specific age group, or is it just what you feel you want to cosplay as?
I don't know, I kind of cosplay characters I just I sort of I like my favorite character on a game, my favorite YouTuber at the time. Like, you know, it's kind of I don't know, like big headed to say, but like I like my Markiplier cosplay because it's demographic to young. It's like the demographic it hits is young people. Really, no person over the age of 30 really knows who Markiplier is, kind of thing. But like when people who don't know who you are see you and want to take a picture, they always ask who you are, and I think that's kind of cool. But when you try to explain, I am a guy who does videos on the internet, I am his alter ego, you kind of lose them a bit.
Um, so yeah, that's fair. Have you been given any opportunities where you would be maybe cosplaying or dressing up as a character that would be familiar to a certain age group?
My Steve from Minecraft, that seems to only people who know Steve, young kids. Young kids and some teenagers, like I would guess from ages of 5 to about 23 maybe. Like it's kind of a kid friendly cosplay as I would term it really.
Mhm. Um, so let's talk about other opportunities that you've had via cosplay, um, or what opportunities you have had via cosplay. So what has cosplay opened up for you in particular?
I don't know, just a world of friends basically. Like amount of people I know now because of cosplay is just. But like I'll always, whenever I bump into someone at a convention, they'll always be like, I'll always hear a mention of a name that I know from being friends, and you'll sort of make friends via your other friends, kind of, and then it's done. So it's basically my friends, and then plus one at a couple of events. Then there's the Geek Asylum. I've joined the Geek Asylum, which is a big group on Facebook. Just it's grown massively since it started, but I occasionally I'm happy to work like have a table like with a raffle on it at different events. So I've worked them events before. Basically, like
There's something that you can actually tell us a little bit about. You have worked with a couple of people when they've had tables. So
yeah.
what is that like? Take us through what you actually do when you're working a table.
Well, I worked a table with Alphabetic Cosplay back in March. That was my first sort of cosplay, like specific. I went to the convention with the cosplay person, and I was his plus one, so I looked after the table when he was doing his talks, when he was judging. It was a bit weird for me because all the foam stuff, all the stuff that Alphabetti makes is unreal. It's amazing. But it's all him. It's all personal to him, so it's all fits his head and that. So it's it's funny seeing people try it on and like since it's not yours, you feel strange if they should be allowed to do that. So it's kind of. But and then I've got what else? Have I got? I've got this weekend, this Saturday, I'll be plus oneing with Calamity Cosplays at Manchester Play Expo. So I have no idea what to expect with that because all of Calamity's props are just amazing. So I'm going to kind of need to like jot down the rules like no touching.
I think he's actually as we're recording this because I did a quick stream for Twitch earlier there. We got Jai set up on his at the time this recording is actually happening, which is the 5th to the 10th. We got Jai set up on the PSN, so I can Twitch stream from my PSN account.
Oh, nice.
So just to make sure that it was working, I did a little test stream of Smite. There's no commentary, guys, so if you were able to watch my first stream of Smite today on the 5th of the 10th, I hope you enjoyed it, and there will be more to come. But I noticed that Connor was on before I logged out. So I dare say he's making something very creative, because it was tagged as a creative stream.
Most of his are creative streams, or it's us drinking. really. It's either us drinking creative streams.
Do you know what I think is so great? Because I have actually had the chance to hang out with you guys. I love the fact that I don't know who it is, but somebody keeps saying they're not creative, and it's like
It's probably me.
I don't know. It's like it's either Evil or Connor that's saying it, and I'm like, but you guys are creative.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah.
realize it, it's like watch the stream back and you'll see, God, I really am creative. You
You guys make this. I can't make a pizza.
Pizza's really easy to make. I can make
Oh,
pizza.
no, it's not.
I can, do you know what? I can actually make pizza from scratch.
No. I can burn pizza from scratch.
Um,
Which
so
is
yeah, uh, it's really fun to see that you're actually doing that. Have you actually ever had the opportunity to judge a cosplay competition or masquerade yourself?
I did. I did at Leeds SmashCon in God, when was it? June, I think. June. I was with the Geek Asylum Homage. I was with their table on the raffle, and one of the I don't know what I never know what to call them, but one of the people running the show basically,
MC,
like
MC.
MC, was basically he was there with the wrestling, so they didn't really have an MC for the masquerade. So they asked me to host it. So I hosted the kids ones, like read the name out, and they had like Palpatine and Darth Vader stood next to us. It's really strange, like just an image of me on stage next to Darth Vader and Palpatine judging kids cosplays. But so I did that, and then they asked if I wanted to judge the adult one, which I was just like, yeah, damn, give me the mic. But it was strange. You always ask people. I think it was Alphabet. He told us a judge was probably one of the hardest things he had to do it, like when he guested, and like I found it really easy because like there was first, second, and third place, and then a judge's choice. The judge's choice was just a one you fangirled the most over, is what I deemed it. Third place, first place, second place, and first place, and it just I don't know if it was just I was really lucky, but there was a clear first, second, and third place really. So that was quite cool. It's amazing to see what some people will do. Like in their cosplay, they'll stand on stage, but then the winners, the people who, well, I say the winners, the people who are just stand out more, go on stage and own the stage. So for me, the first place went to the guy who came on, did the whole routine and everything. It was amazing. I can't remember what it was now, but it was amazing.
Um, I have to admit, I've never had the opportunity to judge at a Comic Con event. I would love to, but I feel as if I need to get my like cosplay profile up before I even get considered for something like that.
Yeah,
But it might happen one day. Somebody might turn around and say, "Hey, are you busy on this date? Do you want to come and guest and judge and all the rest?" I don't know.
yeah.
If it happens, it happens. I will say I'm available right now to do so. Um,
Here is my CV, my credentials.
yeah, my YouTube is my CV and credentials, people. But everybody that I've spoken to that has like judged a panel or judged a set of people have always said that it's been very, very difficult for them because there's so many different facets that you just really can't make a decision on. And they do struggle with it, and they always end up saying, "Oh, I feel really bad that this person didn't win or that person didn't win because I really liked this aspect."
Yeah,
But I think a really cool thing is that they always seem to remember there are two other people that have an opinion that
yeah.
are judging with you, so it's a shared kind of,
I feel
oh,
like that might have why it was easier for me, as I was judging just as a single person judging.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
feel like I didn't have to sort of go like collaborate. I didn't have to collaborate with anyone. I didn't have to say this person deserves first for such and such. I was literally just like that person deserves first.
awesome. Um, so my next question for you is, what are three of the funniest things that have ever happened to you? Well, in costume or at a Comic Con?
Right. This is in no particular order.
Okay.
I'm laughing already. One of them, it was at Atomic Con 2 in Hartlepool, and there was 5e cosplay. He'd just gotten like a free cupcake, like the last free cupcake. And like I just saw the joy in his face, like the joy in such a young boy's face of a free cupcake. And I was just like, no, this is the real world. You don't get free cookies. And just slapped it out of his hand. And there exists a picture of him somewhere dressed as the Fifth Doctor on his knees doing that, crying over this like just flattened cupcake on the ground.
That explains a lot. It explained why one time when we were in a chat server, I told you um, I was doing some weird mood thing, and I said, "Oh, you get a cupcake." And I said, like, do you remember I actually
Oh
um,
yeah, you sent us a
sent
picture of
you
a
like
cupcake.
pictures of cupcakes? And all you
Oh
could do was laugh, and I was like, "Why is he laughing? It's cupcakes."
yeah. Oh,
So that
cupcakes are
that
my
makes a lot of sense to me now.
cupcakes are my weakness. What else? It's SunnyCon last year. I had a bunch of people come back to my house and we weren't drunk. We were just hyper. We were just hyper after the convention. It was just a fun night in the garden, sat in the fire, had my paddling pool. It was a really hot summer. I bought a paddling pool for $5, soaked my feet in it whilst painting. So it links. So there was that, and then it was a fun night. Then waking up the next morning, extremely tired, all attempting to get ready. I don't know if you've ever tried to get. I think it was one, two, three. If you've ever tried to get 5 or 6 cosplayers ready in a downstairs flat, because it's very difficult. That was quite fun, and then
Never ever had to do that, but I have had to get 5 younger relatives ready
oh god,
when there's only one bathroom in the entire house.
I'd have just left. I'd have been like, "You're on your own. See you guys."
I had to cook breakfast. Like this is the funny thing. I was the oldest of, like I said, essentially 6.
Yeah.
Everybody else is younger, and they're like, "Okay, kiddo." Like the adults were like, "Okay, kiddo, it's your responsibility to get these kids ready and out the door in the morning." And I'm like, "Really?
I
Just
can barely get myself ready.
really?" I can barely get myself out of bed without a good coffee.
Uh, I just need a good like that smell of like bacon cooking. Just gets me out of bed.
Oh no, for me it has to be either hot orange juice or
Hot
coffee.
orange juice.
Yeah, I'll explain that after we're done here, but actually no, I'll explain it. I like diluted orange juice, but I don't like it like with cold water in it. I like it with warm water instead of cold.
That's right.
It sounds really, really weird and disgusting to some
It
people,
does. I don't even like orange juice to
but
be fair.
to be honest, I've never ever had a cold. Like I've had colds and whatnot.
I've
I've
never had a
been
cold,
I've
but I've
I've
had colds.
I've been ill, but I don't get ill very often. And I
Yeah.
think it's because of all the vitamins I intake.
So you don't get
So
con flu.
no,
Oh,
like
you've never had post
I've
con
I've
flu.
had I've had pre-con flu, right?
Right.
And I'll explain this. Like before I went to the Comic Con that I did Ivy at, the week before I had the cold.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I can get over this cold before I go to Comic Con, everything will be fine.
Oh, it's awful that feeling.
And I magically did actually get rid of the cold before I went to Comic Con. It was 2 days before I went, I got rid of the cold, and I was like, oh, thank God, it's ran its course. And then I wore what I was wearing. Now, if you've seen my Ivy costume, you'll know that I'm not really wearing much of anything.
Yeah.
It's kind of insane. And the entire day I was going from cold to warm to cold to warm. And then I was queuing to get a picture taken, a professional picture. And I was standing next to this family that were dressed as um, Slade, Black Canary, Red Arrow, and Green Arrow.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was
Want a photo?
the two little girls is Red and Green Arrow, and the mum and dad is Black
Oh,
Canary and Slade. Now the dad's got this kind of like PVC kind of mask thing on, and he lifts it up, and he's just like, and the mum says to him, she's like, "Are you okay? You want some water?" And he's like, "Yeah, but it's like really hot in this costume." And obviously, one of the staff members has heard this, and we're standing next to this like glass door, and they open the door, and the breeze just hits every other cosplayer, and they go, it hits me, and I'm like, "Shut the door! Just shut the door! I'm freezing
oh
over here."
God.
Um,
There's always that one person complaining.
yeah, in this case, it was me, and I was screaming that I was too cold. I was like, "Shut the fucking door! Just close the door."
Oh,
Um, they did, but they were like, "Oh, give us like 2 minutes beforehand." I was like, "If you're too hot, go outside." You know, if you've got your hand stamped, you can get in for it, free entry. You won't get stopped again. Just go outside. And do you know the worst of it? That wasn't the last time they opened the door. Like when I was actually up getting the picture taken, somebody opened the door again, and I was like, there was actually a picture that had to be deleted because of that, because the door just opens and I just like tense up like shit. But it's and you know the worst of it, it's like the photographer that was doing that particular picture. When I asked him, "How do you want me to pose?" and I kind of had to slightly tell him who I was. He said, "Well, just pose seductively." And
all right.
how it is very difficult to pose seductively when you're freezing cold.
Yeah,
It's like
I can imagine.
you start off all sensual like this and blah blah
And
blah,
the
and then
breeze
the
hits.
cold air hits you and you just go, "Shut the door! Just shut the door! Close it! Close it!" But yeah, this that doesn't happen. So what are some of the other funnier things that have happened to you? Because I gave you one of mine this
um,
year, no less.
in MCM, me and Calamity Cosplay bought kimonos
Hmm.
for no reason other than he said, "Dude, we should buy kimonos." There's a reason I'm usually poor, is because I have poor self-control. I will admit, it's one of my final. I'm staring at it now. It's one of my final purchases. It's comfy. And then we went out drinking in them. I went to a Chinese restaurant in them and drank sake. Sake is strong stuff.
I know.
Uh, I don't know if this is all right to tell, but I was going to the bathroom and then in the Chinese restaurant. I went down the stairs and they were here, but I didn't see them, so I continued around the corridor. I've walked into this just room with tables facing a stage, loads of Chinese men in business suits, all in black business suits, watching this karaoke. I don't know if you've seen Rush Hour 3. It was a bit like that. And then this large man stepped out in front of me and said, "Can I help you, sir?" I went, "I'm looking for the bathroom. Don't think this is the right place to be." He then said, "No, the bathroom's back there." I then crapped my pants a little because a large man, who I assumed had a gun at the time because it makes the story funnier, it was some kind of like meeting of a gang of some sort
The
that I
Yakuza.
interrupted whilst in a kimono.
It was the Yakuza.
Yes, it was. So
Um,
that was quite fun. It was an adventure.
I can only imagine. Um, so let's talk about props.
Yes.
Let's talk about props, baby. Um, yeah, I know. Hey, this is my channel. If I can't embarrass myself in my own channel, where can I? So props in general, like we know that Calamity Cosplay is a complete,
The go-to guy for props, really.
yeah, a beast when it comes to making props, as is Alphabet. Um, I know what I do with my props. I commonly have conversations with Connor whenever I can get a hold of him, or Alphabetti, and say, right, I'm thinking about doing this prop. What do I need? You know,
Yeah.
how do I do it alongside that? Um, do you make your own props? Do you buy them in and customize them, or do you just buy the particular prop that you're needing? What's your methodology for prop making and
A
whatnot?
bit of both, really. I mean, I have a. Well, you've seen the arm that I made. I also this one I made completely on my own.
Ah, nice. Carbon?
However, I have stored it incorrectly, so it does have a bit of a
Ah,
sort of a buckle in it. It isn't the most beautiful thing. It isn't the most robust, but it's served me well.
what's it made from?
It's made from foam,
Ah, awesome.
yoga mat, not yoga mat foam. The play mat foam that you get from Halfords, sponsored by Halfords.
Ooh, very
It was
classy.
just I opened the picture of the Minecraft sword on Photoshop, and measured the size of the. I don't actually have a sheet, but the sheets are like that,
Hmm.
like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I measured them, so I made the picture of the sword so that the two corners were the corners of the foam.
Hmm.
Printed it out, stuck it all together, then stuck it to the foam, and cut around the foam. Did that twice, stuck it together, and then painted it. As you can tell, I'm not the greatest of painters. I got one square, which is like I'm done. But in pictures, when you're far away from the camera, it looks quite cool.
Awesome.
And
How
when you're
how
dressed
long
as
did it
Steve,
how
how
long
long?
did it take to you to make it?
It was about half an hour of crying, sobbing. It's a very accurate process. You have the idea, you cry, you attempt, you cry again, you retry, you cry, and you finally get it.
Now you
Just
see, you're doing something wrong there.
I'm crying too much or not enough.
No, no, no. You're crying in general, right?
I mean, if I just looked at something and
Let,
cried because
let
you
me
can't.
let me let me tell you how you do this. As an artist, I can tell you the secret, right?
Yep.
You don't cry. You don't show sad emotion to what you're doing. You throw paint at it. You swear at it.
That was some of
You
that, yes.
you keep trying. You swear again. You shout at somebody who doesn't deserve to be shouted at. You swear some more, and then you say,
Yeah.
F this, I'm off for a cigarette or a coffee or whatever. Then you come back and you shout at your prop some more, saying, You drove me to this, you git.
I feel
And
like your
then,
shouting and my crying are very similar.
yeah, and then you come back to it and you eventually you're able to finish it after 14 hours of gaming.
Yeah, I think that took us all together. I mean, to cut it out and to stick it together literally took me 20 minutes, if that. Like that's the easy part. The painting, I'm not the most creative. I can barely write my own name. Like when I'm looking for jobs, I'm looking for jobs. Does it involve writing? No, I'll take it. So I just sort of the painting took the longest. The painting took like 3 hours because I just kept crying and drinking. Yeah. Never cosplay and drink because as you drink, the worse it'll get, and the worse it gets, the more you'll drink.
I
Yeah,
find that when it comes to swearing, because like people who know me know that I can swear with the best of them. Believe me,
like a sailor on leave.
believe me. Even a sailor would blush at what I'm saying on a Friday night. But when I'm in that creative mode, right, I'm actually going to show off something right now. I made this dragon egg at
Oh wow!
my art
Oh no!
class, and
Just look at that.
that is pure clay. That's air dried clay. And I'm not used to working with clay. It's one of the things that I find very difficult to work with for health reasons.
Yeah,
But if you look very closely at that clay, you'll see little rivets in it
yeah,
where my finger is.
and very well. All you can see on the video
Um,
is there.
yeah, little rivets in it. Now I did that with a spoon, just like no, I did it like with the handle part of the spoon,
All right.
and I was just like piercing the clay. well, not piercing it, but pressing
Yeah.
it. And a couple of times when I pressed it near to the top, now you're not going to be able to see this, but the top of it still has these kind of decorationed parts to it. But every time I was doing it and getting closer and closer to the top, I found that my thumb or my other fingers were like smoothing out other parts of the egg. And I was starting to get really frustrated with that
Yeah.
to the point where I don't know whether it's even visible, but there's one part of this egg that's fatter than the rest of it. And it's
Yeah.
simply because my palm was like squeezing the egg in. And I was like, "Fucking egg!" Um, but it has turned out very, very well. And oddly enough, the paint that I'm using on this egg, or had used on this egg, is the same paint that I'm using on one of my other props that I'm working on at the moment.
Yeah.
Um,
All right.
so I'm really, really happy that this egg has stayed as shiny as it has, even when it's covered in dust.
Yeah.
It still stays immensely shiny. Um, but this is one of the eggs well, this is one of the clay things I will happily keep until the day that I pass away, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
I will pass it down to my children and say, if anybody ever gets on your nerves, child,
Just throw this at
throw this at them.
them.
You'll end up going to jail for it, but it will be
He
worth it.
assaulted me with an egg.
It will be worth it for the comedic value. Um,
It's a joke in there about breaking news, but I'm not going to make it.
um, but yeah, prop making is insane, and you do need to swear a lot in prop making if you're
If you ever
like
need to
anything
water
like
down
me.
your paint, your tears are brilliant to water down paint. I'm pretty sure that when I water down, like on the foam, you put a layer of watered down glue.
Mhm.
Pretty sure 50% of that was my tears, just because I couldn't figure out where to begin.
You wouldn't get that from me. You would get like a lot of swear words, and that would thin it out. Um, so when it comes at getting back to props here, because we got sidetracked. When it comes to props, what type of props do you tend to take with you when going to a Comic Con? Do you take the
Big props.
okay. Because I was going to ask there, because like for me, props fall into three categories. You've got your big back breaking props, your medium kind of back breaking props, and then your
Yeah,
small ones that can easily go into your pocket or your bag or whatever.
yeah.
You mentioned that you do a lot of stuff on tables, so do you ever get the chance to put your own props on tables as well?
No, no. It's I'm always whenever I've got a table, it's always on +1. So I tend to not put my crap on the table. As though most of my bigger props that I use, for my example, my gun for Gauge is a large Nerf gun that's been painted, so it's not mine. Um, Trying to look like the Steve sword, sort of a medium prop, but when you're carrying it all day, it will eventually get heavy at some point.
What would
Um,
you what would you recommend people do when it comes to Comic Cons? Would you say like take a prop that you're going to be comfortable with?
it depends what you're going for. If you want to look as badass as possible, take the biggest, heaviest prop. Most inconvenient thing in the world will look amazing.
See, I would say go for the most medium-sized prop because
Or
then it's still an inconvenience, but it will still look amazing.
if you take a massive, massive prop, you can ask someone else to hold it, and it will then inconvenience them instead of yourself.
Now you
Like
see,
try to find your phone, and you have to give it to them.
I should have thought of that last year when I was doing Harley Quinn. I should have gave my family member the mallet and said, "Here, carry that so that I can walk with absolutely nothing on me."
Yeah. Well, most of my cosplays tend to have pockets, a bag, or just nothing that I can't like just throw on my shoulder. And like with the gun, I'll walk around with the gun like up on my shoulder like that. My Link cosplay that I haven't even started. I have the sword and shield like just sat there that I've bought. But the shield is quite heavy, so if I find a way to attach that to my back, that's kind of. If you can find a way to attach the prop to yourself, so if you've got to say a sword, like a back holster, a hip holster, a hip sword
Yeah,
holder, yeah, I would recommend that. I mean, I do with the group I'm in with the Ace Strike Force. we're sort of our own little mercenary thing. I carry around a big turret now, like a big Nerf turret. I want to try and get a strap for it that goes around my shoulders and my neck. So that's kind of what I would do. Like even my tiny prop, my little tiny box Tim, about that big, sits on my shoulder because I've put Velcro on it. Like I feel like I have one cosplay in my fear from Inside Out that doesn't have a prop. I feel lost without a prop. Like people are like photos. I'm just like, what do I do with my hands? Just
Um,
I kind of forgot what the question was.
so so yeah, it's like the three different variations and
Oh,
props.
yeah.
When you're going to a Comic Con, you're saying that you take the big props. When you're doing a photo shoot, is it the same idea? Do you tend to take the bigger props then, or will you take all the props for a photo shoot?
I've never actually been on a photo shoot, but if I was to go on a photo shoot, I'd probably take my best cosplay, like the one I'm most confident with, like whatever the props were for it, like whichever one I've put the most work into, I'd probably take. So, like for Gage, I've got the big gun. It's like I think it's 5 foot in length, maybe. I have a lunchbox on my hip. I have a piston on my hip. If you've played the game, you'll understand because she wears a piston. However, it is a real car piston that I wear. And car pistons are heavy. That is probably the worst prop. Like, it's only about that big. It's only, you can't see my hand. It's only that big. Probably not even the size of my head. But it weighs like, it's like having 3 bags of sugar on your hip. So to me, the size of the prop doesn't matter. It's the weight. If you can handle the weight all day, then you're fine. If you go to a photo shoot, take your heaviest one because you're going to be putting it down all the time for photos, really. Whereas at a convention, you've got to hold it.
So that's props in a nutshell, guys. They're fun and annoying all at once.
And the break.
Yeah, and you can swear at them. You can totally swear at them or cry at them. So my next question for you is, can you tell us 3 cosplays that you're going to be doing? One that you're going to be doing at your next event, your last one for this year, and one that you're thinking about doing for next year. So let's start with the one that you're going to be doing at your next event.
So this Saturday.
Yes. Who are you cosplaying as?
I want to take Gage because I haven't taken Gage out in a while, so I'll take Gage.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a new one planned. Well, the one that I started when I first started cosplaying, like properly, like 2 years ago now, 3 years ago. I started ages ago. I wanted to finish it, but don't think I'm gonna have the time, and also I can't find half of it. All it has it's the butcher from Silent Hill, and it's got the thing on the side which now I have short hair. I can finally put a bald cap on and attach it to that. But it's finding a bald cap within was it Thursday, Friday? Within 2 days, within a day, basically 2 days. That's Friday. Yeah. So probably the last one I'll do for this year. The butcher. Really, I want to finish him before the year's out. I want to do that.
And who will be one character that you'll be doing next year?
I will be. I don't know if you class it as hiring or working with Calamity to do a Darksiders cosplay. The game Darksiders. I will be doing War, one of the 4 horsemen. Which I just keep every time there's like a quiet lull in one of our chats, I'll just message and just be like, so Darksiders.
We'll be sure to keep an eye out for that. And just before we do the Passover, where you can tell us where we can follow you on social media, I just want to say a couple of things before I even ask the last question. Don't forget to put a comment down in the comment section down below, guys. Just like, oh look, there's the comment section down there. It's down there. Go give us a little comment, and either myself or I've completely forgotten your cosplay name.
I don't even remember it. That guy.
That guy cosplay. Yeah, because I'm so used to calling that guy by his actual name.
I go by many.
Yes, I know. So don't forget to leave a comment for either myself or that guy cosplay where we can see what your thoughts are. If you have any questions, please put it in the comment section down below. And don't forget to thumbs up the video and subscribe to my channel so that you'll be notified of um, any new videos. Because like I did mention, I am now streaming on Twitch and most of my videos will come over to YouTube as well. Also, if you're watching this particular video on this lovely little website right here, gameonline.net, don't forget to check out some of our other shows like the weekly podcast,
I did one of
the
those.
yeah, the TV drop, and also the MERP session where you can find out what Estelle, Theo, Zabi, and Dylan Trask are all getting up to. But let's wrap up this interview and I can ask that guy cosplay. What advice would you give to somebody who is a little unsure where to start when cosplaying?
Start with what you know, really. Start with what you're confident with, what you love. Like, I did Deadpool because I was a fan of Deadpool, but I had that. It was convenient because I had it at the time. So when it came to putting Markiplier together, it was what I watched. I watched him on YouTube. I've always wanted to be a YouTuber. Always tried to be a YouTuber. So I've always watched other YouTubers. But Markiplier I've always watched, always loved. Then he did a character, Wilfred Warstach, which I fell in love with the character, everything. So I feel like that one I've put the most time into making screen accurate or just making wearable. Like, start with what you know, basically. For example, if you're a talented painter, ask for help with the phone, but then paint because you're good at it. If you already know how to use phone, then ask someone who paints for painting advice.
Mm-hmm.
But don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. Really, like try new things. I think that's one of the new rules I've had with my life. Applies to cosplay and my life, but whenever an opportunity comes, say yes. Like, even if it sounds stupid, like buying kimonos, do it because it will be a story someday.
Who knows, you might run into the Yakuza.
Yes.
So I want to thank that guy cosplay for taking the time out and spending it with us. But before we go, that guy cosplay is going to tell us where we can get in touch with him if we have any further questions. And every single link that he mentions, guys, will be in the description of this video. So please do click on it and go support that guy cosplay. So that guy cosplay, where can we get a hold of you if we have any further questions for you?
My cosplay page is that guy's cosplay page. And before you ask,
Is that on Facebook?
it is a play on word of like, who are you? I'm that guy. It's a pun basically.
Is that on Facebook
That
or
is on
Twitter?
Facebook. Yes. I am also with my YouTube partner. We are part of Wayward Gamers, so you can get in touch with me that on YouTube. Just Wayward Gamers. I believe I have a Twitter account. It's at Wayward Gamers. I'm assuming. Please, the link will be below if it is not, but it's
Yeah.
that. Um,
All the links will be below, guys, so don't forget to check them out.
Steam. If you want to get in contact with me on Steam, my name is Dr. DeRouge on Steam. Skype, it's Dr. DeRouge.
Okay, so I want to thank that guy closely for taking the time out and spending it with us. I hope you had a wonderful time, guys. And I'll be back with another interview really soon. Bye.
Hi.